Everyone tells you to speak naturally, stop speaking textbook English, but not many people tell you actually how to do it. By the end of this video, you'll be able to understand and use real English vocabulary so that you stop speaking textbook English and start sounding more like yourself. If you're new here, hi, I'm Vanessa from SpeakEnglishWithVanessa.com, and for over the past 10 years, I have been teaching real daily life English that real English speakers use to over 7 million of you here on YouTube. Thank you so much for learning English with me. And every single week, I create a free PDF worksheet with all that you are about to learn so that you can actually use it the next time you go out into the real world and have English conversations. Inside this worksheet, of course, is everything you're going to learn today, plus a special bonus. Actually, 2 bonuses. There is a bonus quiz to test you and see if you can actually understand what you have learned today. And you will also get a bonus speaking practice. This is essential to be able to use what you have learned immediately so it sticks here and it doesn't just fly away. So how can you get this free PDF worksheet plus the bonus quiz and bonus speaking practice? All you need to do is click on the link in the description, enter your name and email address, and voila, just like that, it will land in your email inbox. It is my gift to you. Now, let's get started with real life vocabulary that you can use to talk about your morning routine just like I did. Let's watch. Last week, I gave you a little sneak peek into my morning routine, getting ready, putting in my contacts, putting on my makeup, and I used some key phrases just naturally as I was explaining this. So that is what we're going to take a look at today. The first phrase is to irritate. Let's see how I used it in that morning routine clip, and then we'll talk about it together. Let's watch.
Dan, my husband, wears daily contacts because he only wears them once a month, maybe. They kind of irritate his eyes. So I have the contact here on my finger, and I just, whoop.
In this clip, you saw me talk about contact lenses. I can wear contact lenses, but my husband Dan often doesn't because they irritate his eyes. This is a physical sensation, this annoying, irritating physical sensation, but I would say we use this almost more often in a figurative sense. What if I said this? Every time my boss talks about how good his previous company was, it irritates me so much. This is talking about the feeling that I have inside. Ugh, it's so annoying because he's at our company right now. He should be singing the praises of this company. It irritates me that he's always talking about how good his old company was. So here we have 2 options, the physical sensation or that feeling, and both of those are pretty annoying. All right, let's watch that original clip one more time so that you can see how I used it to talk about contact lenses in my morning routine. Let's watch.
Dan, my husband, wears daily contacts because he only wears them once a month, maybe. They kind of irritate his eyes. So I have the contact here on my finger, and I just, whoop.
The second real life phrase is an instinct. Instinct. Usually we think about this for animals. Birds have an instinct that helps them find seeds and nuts and insects to eat. But we can use this for humans as well. So let's watch the clip to see how I used it in my morning routine, and then we'll break it down together. Let's watch.
There's something very weird about putting something in your eye and not blinking. Like your instant reaction, your instinct is to blink, but you have to keep your eye open.
In this clip, you heard me say, your instinct is to blink, but you have to keep your eyes open when you put your contact lenses in. So here we're talking about something that you cannot control. It just happens automatically. Your instinct is to blink when something gets closer to your eyes, so you have to consciously avoid your instinct and keep your eye open. Trust that it's going to be okay. But we often use the word instinct to talk about trusting yourself, For example, you might say, trust your instincts. Sometimes we even say, trust your gut. Your gut is in here. Trust your instincts. Maybe if you think that you should avoid that job that just offered you a pretty good deal, but there's something about that job that I just don't think is good. There's something about that place. It just makes me feel a little weird. Your friend might say to you, yeah, trust your instincts. Don't go with that job if you don't think it's a good idea. Even if you can't exactly place why you think it's a bad idea, trust your instincts. Okay, maybe a good advice, maybe not. But sometimes it is a good thing to trust our instincts. All right, let's see how that original clip was used, and hopefully you can trust your instincts as well and continue to learn English with me. Let's watch.
There's something very weird about putting something in your eye and not blinking. Like your instant reaction, your instinct is to blink, but you have to keep your eye open.
The third real-life English phrase is to drip down. To drip down. Let's see how this was used in the original context first.
So sometimes some of the contact solution drips down my face and I want to just dry it off a little bit.
I said sometimes some of the contact solution drips down my face. And this is a simple, straightforward phrasal verb, and it means it is going down my face. You could say it drips on my face, but by saying it drips down my face, it sounds so natural. We often use this to talk about rain. The rain is dripping down the windows. It often implies that it's on a surface. The contact solution drips down my face. The rain drips down the windows. It can be a really calming thing to watch the rain drip down the windows while you're inside, cozy, with a cup of tea, maybe a good book, maybe a good video lesson like this one, and just watch the rain drip down the windows. All right, let's go and watch that original clip one more time.
Sometimes some of the contact solution drips down my face and I want to just dry it off a little bit.
The fourth daily life phrase is a long one, but quite important, and it is to make a difference, but we're going to add something in the middle. To make an awful lot of a difference. Ooh. So the key phrase here, to make a difference, means to change something. But when we add awful lot of a difference, we are emphasizing this phrase. Let's see how I used it in my morning routine, and then we'll talk about it together. Let's watch.
I like to wear just a little bit of this under my eyes. And I don't know if it really makes an awful lot of a difference, but I do it for me.
In this clip, you heard me say, I don't know if it makes an awful lot of a difference. I'm using it in a negative sense. I think it doesn't make a difference. I don't think it makes an awful lot, so much of a difference. But what if we use this in a positive sense? I want you to take a look at this sentence. A supportive teacher can make an awful lot of a difference in her students' lives. So we could say simply, a supportive teacher can make a difference in her students' lives. Of course, right? But when we add an awful lot, we're really punching in that effect. We're really trying to emphasize that a supportive teacher is really important. A supportive teacher can really make a huge difference, an awful lot of a difference in a student's life. So there's a couple options here. Can make a lot of a difference, can make a huge difference, can make an awful lot of a difference in a student's life. I think that's these daily life phrases that you hear, maybe you understand, but you don't use yourself, that can really elevate your English. So try to use this the next time that you speak. All right, let's watch that original clip one more time.
I like to wear just a little bit of this under my eyes. And I don't know if it really makes an awful lot of a difference, but I do it for me.
The fifth real-life English phrase is a lovely phrasal verb, and it is to cover up. Ooh, we're talking about hiding something. Let's see how this was used in the original clip, and then we'll talk about it.
People say, oh, you look so tired. Are you okay? And then you think, it's just my face. It's not because I'm actually more tired than usual. You're just not covering up your tired in the same way, which is how I feel.
In this clip, you heard me talk about covering up how I feel tired. I put makeup right here under my eyes to cover up that I feel tired or that I look tired. This is just a fact of life. Right now in my life, I am often tired. So what do? I drink some caffeine in my tea and I put some makeup under my eyes to hide that I look tired and that I actually usually feel tired. This is a physical hiding of something. I'm covering it up, but we can also cover up other things as well. All right, let's say that you are driving your car and you accidentally hit something and you get a dent in your car. Your husband comes home and he says, "Hey, what's that dent in the car?" You could cover up your mistake by changing the subject. You say, "Oh, well, look, I just baked some dinner. Isn't this so good? Let's go eat dinner." You're trying to avoid talking about your mistake. You're trying to cover up your mistake by changing the subject. Not that I have ever done this in my life. But it's something that you can do, not just physically cover up, but you can hide something, cover up your mistake by changing the subject. All right, let's watch that original clip again so that you can see how to use cover up.
People say, "Oh, you look so tired. Are you okay?" And then you think, it's just my face. It's not because I'm actually more tired than usual. You're just not covering up your tired in the same way, which is how I feel.
The sixth real life daily expression is I always go back to. Take a look at how this was used in the original context, and then I'll show you another way that you can use it as well. Let's watch.
This is like extremely cheap mascara. I don't know. I've tried other kinds that are fancier, and for some reason, this is what I always go back to.
In this clip, you saw me talking about my mascara, and I said I've tried other fancier types, and this is the one that I always go back to. So I've tried those other brands, but this is the one that I return to. I decide to repurchase this cheap brand because it's something that works for me. So I return to it, or I go back to this option. I go back to this brand. But we can also talk about this in a physical sense. Your body is returning somewhere. So take a look at this. When we travel, we always go back to that small town by the sea. We are physically returning to that small town by the sea because it's the perfect vacation destination for us. So we can use that full phrase, we always go back to that small town. All right, let's see how it was used in the original context one more time.
This is like extremely cheap mascara. I don't know. I've tried other kinds that are fancier, and for some reason, this is what I always go back to.
The 7th and 8th daily life English expressions are very fun ones. The 7th one is clumpy, clumpy. It's these kind of descriptive words that will really help you to expand your English and express yourself. So let's see how I used clumpy in the original conversation, and then I'll talk about it with you.
I find when I do that, it kind of more evenly goes on my eyelashes. Instead of being clumpy, that's not what you want.
I was talking about my makeup and I said, I don't want it to be clumpy. You want it to be smooth and even. So I don't want it to be clumpy. Clumpy means it's in little piles, not the way it should be. It's clumpy. You don't want makeup to be clumpy, but we can use this with other things as well, like food. So you might say this about mashed potatoes. Mashed potatoes are a common food in the US. We especially eat them for holidays like Thanksgiving or Christmas, but a lot of families eat them on a regular basis. And oftentimes people like their mashed potatoes to be smooth, totally blended, totally pureed. But some people like them to be a little bit clumpy. So you might say, I like it when my mashed potatoes are a little bit clumpy, not totally smooth. So clumpy doesn't always have to be a negative thing, but you can imagine pieces of potato cooked potato, but pieces of potato within my mashed potatoes. It's not totally smooth. It has a little bit of texture to it. It's a little bit clumpy, but that's okay. Okay, let's go on and watch that clip one more time so that you can use this fun word yourself, and then we'll talk about the second one that is also fun. Let's go.
I find when I do that, it kind of more evenly goes on my eyelashes instead of being clumpy. That's not what you want.
The 8th real-life expression is scraggly. Oh, this word just sounds exactly like it is. So let's watch the clip and then we'll talk about how you can use scraggly. So fun. Let's watch.
This is the second day. So I had these in my hair yesterday and they were less scraggly. This is called.
In this clip, you heard me say, this is the second day. It's a little less scraggly. I was talking about this messy appearance. When something is scraggly, it is not smooth, it is not put together, it is messy. Usually we use this for our physical appearance. When I film a lesson for you, I try to do my hair nicely, I put on some makeup, I wear a nice shirt. I try not to look too scraggly. But let me tell you, in daily life, I often look scraggly because I am running around after my kids, I'm doing errands, I'm gardening in the dirt. I do not look professional and put together. I look a little more scraggly. I think we all do, right? On the weekend, you might look different than you do during the week while you're going to your job and trying to look a little more put together. We can also use the word scraggly not just for our physical appearance, but for items as well. We might say, for example, if a fence has some broken pieces, we might say, oh, that old scraggly fence just needs to be torn down. It might have some splinters. It's just breaking apart. Oh, that old scraggly fence. Let's just get rid of it. Don't you see how this word is so fun to say? Scraggly, scraggly. It just sounds exactly like it is. So let's watch how I used the word scraggly, and I hope you can use it as well because let's face it, we all look scraggly at some points, maybe more than others. Let's watch.
This is the second day, so I had these in my hair yesterday and they were less scraggly. This is called.
Our 9th phrase is to leave it like this. I like using the word leave here because we're not talking about leaving the house. Instead, we're talking about it in a slightly different connotation. So let's watch the clip and then we'll talk about how you can use to leave it like this. Let's watch.
Usually when I take my hair out of the braids, I might leave it like this, or I might gently do a little bit of combing.
In this clip, you heard me say, when I take my hair out of the braids, I usually leave it like this. Just like this. I did it earlier today. And here, when we're talking about the word leave, it doesn't mean I'm leaving the house. I'm going out of the house. I'm leaving. Instead, we're talking about not changing anything. Let's leave it. Ooh. So we can leave your hair, or if you're arranging the furniture in your house, and when you have it in a place that you kind of like it, you could say, okay, let's leave the furniture like this for a week and see if we like it. If it doesn't work, we can always move it around later. So we're talking about not touching something, having it stay exactly as it is. Let's leave the furniture, or let's leave it as it is. Love this. Okay, let's watch that clip one more time. And I'm sure there's something in your life that you're going to leave it as it is. Your hair, the furniture, who knows what. Let's watch.
Usually when I take my hair out of the braids, I might leave it like this, or I might gently do a little bit of combing.
Our 10th and almost final, don't forget we have a bonus phrase after this. Our 10th expression is at least I have. At least. I love this. It is helping you to be positive about life. Let's watch how I use it, and I will help you use it as well. Let's watch.
Even if I just wear my normal shirts, normal pants, nothing fancy, at least I have earrings. So I'm going to put in my earrings.
In this clip, you heard me say, at least I have earrings. Today I have earrings on. I do most days. And even when I am looking scraggly, even when I don't have anything super exciting to do that day, at least I have some earrings in. And when we're talking about this phrase, at least, or at least I have, here we're trying to find the positive. I'm looking scraggly. I don't even know what's going on today, but the positive thing is at least I have earrings in. So we can use this to try to find the positive in possibly a negative situation. So as you are reflecting on maybe last year, you might think, well, I didn't get the job that I expected, and my vacation, it just rained the whole week, but at least I am healthy. Well, that's not a small thing, right? That's important. So we're finding that positive by using at least. At least I'm healthy. Yes, that is very true. So let's watch that clip one more time to hear how I used at least. And I hope you can use it too to remind yourself of the positive things in life. Let's watch.
Even if I just wear my normal shirts, normal pants, nothing fancy, at least I have earrings. So I'm going to put in my earrings.
Our final bonus expression today is a fun one, a very specific expression, and it is dangly. Dangly. We had clumpy, scraggly, and now dangly. These are very specific adjectives that will help you to describe exactly what you're talking about. So let's see how I used this phrase, and then we'll talk about it. Our bonus phrase. Let's watch.
These are dangly earrings, and I usually wear dangly earrings. I have a couple stud earrings.
You heard me say these are dangly earrings. So this means it's hanging loosely from my ear. It's not attached at the top and just sticking there. Instead, it is a dangly earring. And we use this to talk about anything that's hanging loosely. So in the US, it's really common to have something hanging or dangling from your rear view mirror. I don't like to do this because it kind of messes with my vision as I'm driving. It can kind of get in the way, but it's really common to have something dangling from your rear view mirror. So you might say, what's that dangly thing on your rear view mirror? This is a really specific expression that you can use in this situation. Hey, what's that dangly thing on the tree out there? Oh, it's a string that flew down the street and it got caught in the tree branches. It's something that is dangly. It is hanging loosely. So let's see how I use this to talk about my earrings. And I think you can use this as well as you're having conversations so that you can express yourself better. Let's watch.
These are dangly earrings, and I usually wear dangly earrings. I have a couple stud earrings.
Great work with that morning routine vocabulary. This is vocabulary used in real daily life conversations. You need to use it too. Now let's go on to learn some vocabulary about food and how to talk about the food that you buy from the grocery store. Let's watch, and then afterwards, I have a little question for you. Let's watch. Our first expression is to go with the flow. At the beginning of this lesson, I said, you don't have any plans? What are you going to do? You can use this phrase, I'm just going to go with the flow. And you can guess that this means you are going to not have any plans. You are going to be spontaneous. See what happens along the way. I don't know. It's like you're on a river floating down. I'm just going to go with the flow. In the original video where I was talking about the food I bought at the grocery store, I did not plan that lesson. Every single phrase I was going to say, I just talked as I went. So I said, let's just go with the flow and see what happens. This kind of real life English conversation is excellent for really immersing yourself in conversation instead of a structured, planned out type of conversation. Instead, it's real life. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take a look at the original clip from that conversation, and I want you to listen for the phrase to go with the flow. Let's watch.
Some of them are not all packaged together, so this is not all the fruit. This is not all the pantry supplies, but we'll just go with the flow and see what we got here. Some of them are not all packaged together, so this is not all the fruit. This is not all the pantry supplies, but we'll just go with the flow and see what we got here.
The second real life expression is a fun one. It is a big thing of. In English, we often use the word thing when we are just speaking quickly and casually and don't want to say the specific word. Maybe I don't want to say a bag or a container or a pile. I could say a big thing of. And you can see how I used it in the original conversation about food. I said, I got us a big thing of mandarin oranges. I could have said a big bag of mandarin oranges, but instead I used the word thing. And I think these are fun expressions to learn because this is how real people speak. You can say, I bought a big bag of mandarin oranges, but you're also going to hear this colorful expression used and the next one as well, which also uses the word thing. But let me give you a quick other example. So you could also say, I bought a big thing of coffee because we're going to have guests this week. I could have said a big bag of coffee, a big container of coffee, but I just said a big thing of coffee. It's a way to casually speak. Okay, let's see how this was originally used in the conversation, and then we'll see the next phrase that also uses the word thing. Let's watch.
I got us a big thing of mandarin oranges. You can also call these tangerines. I know they're slightly different, but usually we use the same word. I got us a big thing of mandarin oranges. You can also call these tangerines. I know they're slightly different, but usually we use the same word.
The third real life expression is another thing of. So in the conversation, I said, I got another thing of olive oil. I could have said another jar of olive oil or another container of olive oil, but I just said thing instead. Do you see how this word covers a multitude of other words? I think this is really useful, especially while you're still building your English vocabulary. If you don't know a word, try the word thing. See if it works. Another thing of olive oil. Let me give you another example. I often say this, can you grab another thing of paper towels from the store? Another thing of paper towels. I could say, can you buy some more paper towels from the store? But here I'm using this phrase, another thing of paper towels, to talk about the group of paper towels. I could say another bag of paper towels, but they don't really come in a bag. So here I'm using thing to talk about that group in a general sense. Another thing of paper towels. Perfect. Okay, let's take a look at the original sentence and how I use this in the conversation.
Another thing of pasta. This is dried pasta. This is not fresh. Another thing of pasta. This is dried pasta. This is not fresh.
The fourth daily life phrase that I used is to go through. Now this phrasal verb has many meanings, but we're gonna focus in on the one that was used in the conversation about food. I said this sentence, we go through a lot of nuts and dried fruit. This simply means that we consume, we use a lot of nuts and dried fruits in my house. That's something that we often eat as a common snack. Another way that I often use this phrase is when I'm talking about technology. Making these lessons for you means that I need to use the computer, I need to use my camera, I need to use a lot of memory and memory disks and external hard drives, these types of things. So I could say, I go through a lot of memory. This is not this memory, it's technological memory. I go through a lot of memory in my business. I have a lot of external hard drives where I can back up my lessons and my videos just in case something happens to them. So I use a lot of memory in my job. I go through a lot of memory, or like my kids, they go through a lot of food. Okay, let's watch the original clip so that you can use this way to use the phrasal verb to go through. Let's watch.
We like to buy lots of nuts and dried fruit because we eat that as a snack instead of potato chips or something unhealthy. So we go through a lot of nuts. You will see that in the next bag. We like to buy lots of nuts and dried fruit because we eat that as a snack instead of potato chips or something unhealthy. So we go through a lot of nuts. You will see that in the next bag.
The fifth daily life expression is treat. treat. In the conversation, you saw me buying lots of food for my family, but I could not stop myself from buying myself a little treat. What's a treat? It's something unnecessary but special that I wanted just for me. This was my treat. In this sentence, treat is a noun. This was my treat. I bought it for myself, but we can also use this as a verb. Take a look at how I can rewrite this sentence. I like to treat myself and buy myself a little something at the grocery store. I like to treat myself. It still means the exact same thing. It's not important, it's not absolutely necessary, but it's special. So I could say, this is my treat, or I like to treat myself. So I want to know for you, let me know in the comments, when you go to the store, particularly the grocery store, do you ever buy yourself a treat? What is it? Is it a little bar of chocolate? Is it a special good smelling soap? Tell me, what is something that you like to do to treat yourself? I can't wait to see what you have to say. Okay, let's take a look at the original sentence and how I use this in the conversation. This is my little treat. This is Jeju matcha latte packets. It's so silly. It's tea. This is my little treat. This is Jeju matcha latte packets. It's so silly. It's tea. The sixth important daily life expression is harder than it looks. We could also say harder than it seems. So here, maybe if you are watching a professional ice skating competition, well, those people make ice skating seem so easy. Their movements are so fluid, so seamless. But when you try to get on some ice skates and go out there on the ice, you're gonna use this phrase. Oh wow, ice skating is harder than it looks. Or ice skating is harder than it seems. I thought this would be so easy, but instead you're wobbling around, maybe falling. It's quite hard, right? So this is a great way to talk about your perception compared to the reality. Let's see how I use this in the conversation. I was talking about Brazil nuts. This is a specific type of nut. And I said Brazil nuts are really hard to open. It's harder than it looks. Some nuts, like walnuts, are pretty easy to crack, especially if you have a little nut cracker device. But Brazil nuts are very hard to crack. Just by looking at them, you might not think that these are harder than all the others, but they are. It's harder than it looks to crack a Brazil nut. You might even use this for English as well. You could say, learning to speak better English is harder than it seems. I thought that I would just practice more and it would be fine. But how do I practice? What do? I want to improve my speaking. So that's why you're here, right? If you practice with the speaking practice from today's lesson, you will absolutely improve your speaking skills. This is something that I want to give you the tools to have, not just vocabulary like today's lesson, but also be able to use that in your speaking. So make sure you download it, all right? Let's take a look at the original clip where you saw harder than it looks in the conversation. Let's see. Brazil nuts are really hard to open. It's very labor intensive. So this small bag is very expensive. Brazil nuts are really hard to open. It's very labor intensive. So this small bag is very expensive. The seventh daily life phrase is an interesting one. It is immune boosting, or we can flip this around and say to boost your immune system. Here we're talking about your body's ability to fight a sickness. For example, when I was pregnant, I had a lower immune system. This is common for everyone who is pregnant. Your body is creating a baby, so your ability to fight illness is lower. You're more likely to get sick while you're pregnant because your immune system is not as strong. So usually you need to boost your immune system by taking extra vitamins, making sure that you're staying healthy, all of those things. Let's see how I use this in the conversation. I was talking about Brazil nuts and how they're really healthy for you, and I said selenium is one of the best immune boosting minerals. If you look up some natural minerals that you can add to your diet to help your ability to fight illness increase, Well, selenium is one of them. So I said Brazil nuts include this immune boosting mineral. It's really important to include something like that in your diet. So I want to know for you, do you do anything to boost your immune system? Let me know in the comments. Do you go for a run? Do you exercise? Do you drink lemon water? Do you eat Brazil nuts? What is one of your tricks to help your body fight illness? Oftentimes we think about this during the winter when we're more likely to get sick. So share your tips and tricks. Let us know in the comments. Even if you're not sure if they are scientifically verified, it's always interesting to see what other people do, right? All right, let's watch that original clip and listen for immune boosting. Let's watch. Selenium is one of the most important immune boosting minerals, and Brazil nuts have it a lot. Selenium is one of the most important immune boosting minerals, and Brazil nuts have it a lot. The 8th daily life expression is to be picky about something. Usually being picky is not a good thing, but in some situations it is. In the conversation, I said this: I'm really picky about tomato sauce. This means that most tomato sauces, I say, no, I do not want to buy that. So I only purchase very particular brands of tomato sauce. Usually I'm not picky about most things in my life, but tomato sauce, I want to get the one that is the best, that is the most authentic, has the best tomato content in it, less other things in it. I want to get the best tomato sauce. So I am picky about tomato sauce. We often use this word to talk about children because stereotypically children are picky eaters. They only want to eat things without much flavor. I feel very grateful. My kids are generally not picky eaters. They love many things, but this is kind of the stereotype, right? So let's see what situations is being picky a good thing. It's not necessarily bad to be picky about tomato sauce. If I went to your house and you offered me some pasta with tomato sauce on it that I don't purchase, that is a brand I don't necessarily love, I don't care. I'm so happy to be eating food you made. I'm not going to be rude about it. So this is just kind of a neutral picky, right? But if I said to you, I am picky about who I hire to work for Speak English with Vanessa. Ooh, this is a good thing, right? I don't just hire everybody who asks to work for Speak English with Vanessa. We have a long interview process. They have to do several trial tasks. We have to make sure that we're a good fit. I am picky about who I hire to be helping with this business, teaching you English. That is a good thing. So let's take a look at the original clip to talk about one situation where I am picky. Let's watch. Whole peeled tomatoes. I'm kind of picky about tomato sauce. I think because in the US, there's a lot of very low quality, sugary tomato sauces. Whole peeled tomatoes. I'm kind of picky about tomato sauce. I think because in the US, there's a lot of very low quality, sugary tomato sauces. The 9th daily life phrase is when possible. I like this one because it gives us some advanced nuance to the sentence. Take a look at this and then let's talk about what it means. When possible, I try to avoid food dye. Well, if it's Halloween and my kids are eating Halloween candy, there's so many different dyes and additives. I don't really care. Whatever, they can eat it. I'm not going to be picky about it. But if I'm buying, for example, some kind of chips, I want to make sure that there's no dye in those chips. It's possible that you can just buy potato chips, potatoes, and oil. Those are the only ingredients: potato, oil, and salt. But a lot of potato chips actually have food dyes in them. So if I'm buying potato chips, I will check the ingredients and I will purchase those that don't have food dyes. When possible, I purchase some things that don't have food dyes. That's something that I look at, but I'm not super strict about. You might also use this about your work life. You could say, when possible, I work from home. Maybe there's some things you need to do where you have to go into the office or you have to go out into the field, you have to go to see a client. You can't work from home in those situations, but for your other work tasks, maybe you can work from home. So you say, well, when possible, You could add when it's possible. When it's possible, I work from home. That's fine too, but we often shorten this phrase and just say, when possible, I work from home. Beautiful phrase. Okay, let's take a look at how I originally used this, and I want you to try to add this to your vocabulary. It's a great advanced way to add some nuance to your conversation and to the meaning of what you're trying to say. All right, let's watch.
When possible, I try to avoid food dye. Not all the time, but usually. When possible, I try to avoid food dye. Not all the time, but usually.
The 10th but not final, don't forget our bonus phrase that we're going to talk about today is to run out of space. Are we talking about running? Nope. Instead, we're talking about not having enough space. We can talk about this figuratively or literally. First, let's talk about literally. In the conversation, I was taking food out of bags and putting it on my kitchen table. Well, after a while, there was hardly any space left. So I said, we're running out of space, but that's okay, let's keep going. I was just piling food on top of other food. We were starting to get not enough space on the table. We're running out of space. But we can also use this a little bit more figuratively, or at least less tangibly. You might talk about space in a digital sense. So when I make these videos for you, as you can imagine, this video takes up a lot of digital space. I use a lot of memory creating videos. So actually, about 10 minutes ago, my camera turned off and it said, "This card is full." What happened? I ran out of space. So I had to go back and delete some videos that I accidentally still had on the camera. So this happened to me. I ran out of space. Here we're talking about digital space. I ran out of space, but it worked after I deleted some videos. Great. All right, let's watch how this was used in the original conversation to talk about that physical space, to run out of space. Let's watch.
All right, we're running out of space, but we're still going. All right, we're running out of space, but we're still going. All right,
Are you ready for our bonus phrase today? It is a wonderful phrasal verb. It is to give in. I have to admit, this happens to me quite a lot at the grocery store. I just love food and trying different types of food and experimenting with food. So in the conversation, I said, I don't usually buy gnocchi, but Theo wanted to buy this, so I gave in. Theo's my oldest son, and I also wanted to try that gnocchi. So when he asked for it, I said, okay, sure, let's get it. Here, I am allowing something. I am giving in. Okay, fine, sure, let's get it. Maybe this could happen to you in the workplace. This happens in American workplaces a lot where coworkers will go out to lunch together. Now, if you do this every day, you'll have no money left. But every now and then, it's a good idea to have this type of connection with your coworkers, and maybe it'll be fun too. If they are English-speaking coworkers, challenge yourself and do it. But let's imagine they have been asking you again and again, hey, you wanna come to lunch with us today? No. You wanna come to lunch with us today? No. And then they try again and again. And then finally on Friday, they ask you, do you want to go to lunch with us? And you give in and you say, yes. They might say, yes, he finally gave in, let's go. So here you are allowing something, you are lowering your barrier and you are accepting. Yes, I will go to lunch with you. Maybe you'll even use English together. That would be great. Okay, let's see how this phrasal verb was used in the original conversation, this bonus phrase. Let's watch.
Usually I don't buy gnocchi, but Theo wanted to buy this and I gave in. Usually I don't buy gnocchi, but Theo wanted to buy this and I gave in.
Great work learning that real life vocabulary to talk about food and the food that you buy from the grocery store. You remember that question that I promised you? Well, here it is. I want to know, how long have you been learning English with me? This is a competition. Let me know in the comments how long you've been learning English with me, and I want to see who has been learning English with me the longest. I wonder who it will be. Let me know. And don't forget to download today's free PDF worksheet with all of the vocabulary you learned today, plus the bonus quiz. Test yourself. See if you can really understand today's vocabulary and remember it. Plus, you can download the free bonus speaking practice. You need to use right away what you have learned so that you don't forget it. How can you get this PDF worksheet plus bonus quiz and speaking practice? All you need to do is click on the link in the description, enter your name and email address, and voila, just like that, it will land in your email inbox. This is my gift to you. Well, thank you so much for learning English with me, and I'll see you again next Friday for a new lesson here on my YouTube channel. Bye! But wait, do you want more? I want you to test your vocabulary level. See which level you are, beginner, intermediate, or advanced, by taking this quiz, and I'll see you there.